YouTube, the Houston Rockets in the 2024 NBA offseason, despite having so many big-time rumors about, them wanting to acquire a superstar talent alongside their young core of players like Jalen Green, Alperen Sengun, Cam Whitmore, and newly drafted third overall pick Reed Sheppard, despite all of that, no such move has happened. And people might look at that and say, well, they did draft Reed Sheppard third overall, but for a team with big aspirations in the 2024 NBA offseason, they actually didn't end up doing a whole ton. So people are going to look at that. They're going to look at the sheer amount of moves that they've made and say, well, I don't think the Houston Rockets got a whole lot better. Incorrect. That's the wrong answer to that question. And I'm going to tell you why in this deep dive, folks. I think personally the Houston Rockets have a good shot at a play-in game and a bigger shot than you might think at a playoff spot in 2025. I know that's a hot take. I know it's a historically great Western Conference next season, but the Houston Rockets are going to be better than you think. And this is an NBA deep dive on their entire team. We're going to talk about every single move the Houston Rockets have made in the 2024 NBA offseason, why I think this team is absolutely hungry and starving for a winning season in 2025. We're also going to be doing a massive deep dive on this roster ahead of the 2025 season. And just a couple quick disclaimers. I know I've made a similar video to this to the Rockets, and the Rockets video I made a couple months ago actually ended up being one of the more popular videos on the channel. So thank you guys for that, Rockets fans. You guys are amazing. But we're doing a deep dive series, and it's only fair that I do the Rockets some justice, just like every other team I'm doing in this deep dive series. So I thought we should do an updated version of that Rockets video. And D-Have Nation, this is the official Houston Rockets deep dive of the 2024 offseason and the upcoming 2025 NBA season. Let's get right into it, folks. So as I mentioned, we're going to start with, every offseason move the Rockets have made, and we're going to do that in a couple incremented segments, and it's going to basically be additions, re-signings, departures, draft, and then we'll do the roster deep dive. So let's get into it. And first, we're going to start with the re-signings, and there's only one re-signing. You actually extend Aaron Holiday on a 2-year deal. This was an interesting move. I think Aaron Holiday can provide some, quality depth for the bench for a wing, primarily defensively, right? And this team is certainly young, and I think Aaron Holiday's veteran leadership could provide a value in that regard. I'm not sure how much playing time Aaron Holiday is going to get next season, but again, another veteran guy you can add to the bench and maybe can help some of these young wings develop a little bit faster. You also pick up the team option for Jae'Sean Tate, and I think this is a good move as well. Again, Jae'Sean Tate, not sure how much playing time he's going to get next season with all of the incredible depth pieces on this team, but Jae'Sean Tate, longtime Rocket. Thank you guys for correcting me, Rockets fans, if you're watching this video right now. A lot of you guys said Jae'Sean Tate was not one of your favorite Rockets. I actually thought, I guess incorrectly, that he was. Rockets fans, I guess, have become a little bit frustrated with Jae'Sean Tate, so that's good info. But nonetheless, he is a hard worker, hustle guy. Maybe he has some bad shot selection, and that's why the Rockets, I think, fans aren't too thrilled with him a lot of times. But good defender, good effort guy, so that is a positive. And for the additions category, you actually acquire AJ Green via trade with the Atlanta Hawks. 16th overall pick by the Hawks in 2022. Spent 2 seasons with Atlanta. Couldn't find a consistent role, but this is a wing. I guess, if he was picked that high, clearly has some talent. Shooter and defender, kind of a 3-and-D guy, but maybe he can find more success with the Rockets than he did with the Hawks. And the Rockets basically acquire him for the rights to Pelle Larsson, who was the 44th pick in the 2024 NBA draft, and Miami was involved in the trade. But that's basically what you gave up if you're the Rockets. So, I think this is a situation where you already have so many roster spots filled, and also having a 2nd-round pick come in, even if you like the player, who most likely won't find a role on this team. And I'm not sure AJ Griffin will either, but maybe you like his ceiling a little bit better than a Pelle Larsson. So kind of an interesting trade there. We'll have to see what AJ Griffin ends up doing in Houston, if anything at all. Now, I'm actually on NBA.com looking at these transactions, and for the departures category, it says none, but I believe there are a couple players that will be on the departures list soon enough. One of them being Reggie Bullock, who I've heard reports that, will not be most likely returning to the Rockets because, he is an unrestricted free agent. And as I mentioned, you have so many roster spots already filled. This team has incredible depth. Reggie Bullock probably wouldn't see the floor next season, so just makes sense that he'd end up on the departures list. And I think that's pretty much it for the most part. You guys can correct me down in the comments section if I messed anything up, but I think that's about as far as it goes for the acquisitions, additions, re-signings, departures. Now for the NBA draft, we absolutely have to talk about Reed Sheppard, the 3rd overall pick, guard out of Kentucky for the Houston Rockets. This is quite possibly my favorite player in the NBA draft, other than Jared McCain as a Sixers fan. But Reed Sheppard, I think, is the perfect fit for what the Rockets needed. A polished offensive player that can come in right away and contribute offensively in a meaningful, impactful way to the Rockets right now. He is a guy that has all of the fundamentals secured. Dribble, pass, shoot. That's what a lot of these NBA scouts are looking for these days in high ceiling prospects that can contribute. He has all three of those. And not only does he have all three of those, he has them all in spades. He's also a good athlete who can defend. Reed Sheppard is probably the best shooter in the draft. I think that's fair to say. He can shoot it off the dribble. He is, next level shooter. One of the, rare shooters you see every year that I think his ceiling as a shooter is almost limitless, just like his range as a shooter. And his ability and feel for the game, like I watched him in summer league and he just looks like he's been in the league for 5+ years. This is a, smart player who knows his role, and it just is so efficient on all levels. I mean, he makes good decisions with the basketball in his hands. He is an efficient scorer, doesn't try to do too much. He just has that natural feel for the game that I think you look for in a young player that can come in and contribute, which is what the Rockets needed. They needed another offensive player that could create a little bit for themselves, wouldn't get too much in the way of their offense though, with already having guys like Jalen Green and Fred VanVleet and guys like that, Alperen Sengun, who already are, really good offensive players. But Reed Sheppard is just capable of doing so many things. Off the ball, on the ball, doesn't matter. I think he could play either one just as good. This is probably the best fit in the entire draft. And I think Reed Sheppard is a candidate for Rookie of the Year in 2025, as I believe he is one of the most NBA ready prospects coming out of this draft class. So you have to give the Rockets an A+ for scoring the 3rd overall pick in the first place, with the 8th best odds, I believe it was, and then getting a guy that just can fit in seamlessly right away. We'll talk about his role later with the roster deep dive, but this is just a home run pick for the Houston Rockets. Rocket fans, let me know down in the comment section how excited you are for Reed Sheppard and his future in Houston. Hopefully many great years for you guys to come. So that's pretty much it for the offseason moves. I mean, you made some, minor trades, maybe not minor, but like, draft trades and stuff like that for picks with the Nets, but nothing too crazy other than that, mostly in this video, we're gonna be focusing on the roster deep dive because there are so many great players I want to talk about and get through with this team. There's, about 15 of them, are just so good. So before we get into the roster deep dive, I just want to say the depth on this team is out of control. I mean, it's a good problem to have too many good players, but I'm just so curious how Coach Udoka is going to handle the rotations. I'm so excited to see who he puts on the floor. Certain situations there, in my estimation, are about 12 NBA caliber rotation players on this team. Good ones too. Like, not like, this guy could be a rotation player on a bad team, fringe guy. No, there are 12 legitimate rotation players that I think you can feel confident putting on the floor in most situations. We're going to talk about all of them, but that is an insane luxury to have. Most of them being young and not even hit their prime yet. It's just such an exciting time if you're a Houston fan. I can't wait to watch the Rockets next season. They're one of the teams I think, is worth renewing a NBA League Pass subscription for if you don't live in Houston. But without further ado, folks, let's get right into the 2025 projected, Houston Rockets roster. I'm going to talk about, player by player. Enough wasted time already. Let's get right into it, folks. So I'm going to be working through this roster. We have to start with probably the best player on this team, and that is someone I want to talk about first and foremost because his future is a little bit uncertain with the Rockets, and that is star potential center, and you can make a case he's already a star, Alperen Sengun. And Sengun had a career year last season. He's been improving steadily ever since he's been in the league. He's still an incredibly young player. Alperen Sengun has, in my opinion, offensive superstar potential. He's one of the more gifted offensive centers we have in this league already, and he just has that innate offensive ability and those instincts and those, the basketball IQ of someone you just rarely see from that center position. Alperen Sengun is only 22 years old, and I think Coach Udoka actually ended up doing wonders for Sengun's development last season. He really had him more intense on the defensive end of the floor, and I think his defense was the thing holding him back earlier in his career. And again, people are going to criticize his defense. This guy is still 22. He's not a complete product, and I think that's pretty reassuring because the fact that he's not a complete product is insane when, this guy is averaging 21 points a game, 9 rebounds, and 5 assists on 54% from the field as a third-year player. I mean, those are all-star numbers as far as I'm concerned, and the Rockets even won 41 games last season. So imagine the wins go up a little bit and Sengun's numbers stay pretty similar, maybe a little bit better. That's all-star production, man. That is incredible. I actually think Sengun has the highest ceiling of anyone on this team. We've talked about this before with the Rockets, but I just have to do it some service in this video. He is a special type of gifted offensive ability type of player that this ceiling is basically untapped. I mean, we don't even know how great he could be because of that natural ability. So, Coach Udoka, I think, is going to do really great work with Sengun. But the problem is, I think, if you're a Rockets fan, they have been hesitant to give Sengun a max extension. They've also have been reports that they've offered him in trade packages for guys like Kevin Durant. I think that's kind of concerning. Maybe they want to go in a different direction with their center. Maybe Coach Udoka likes more of a defensive, rim running center, but I don't know how you just don't give this guy a rookie max when, again, that ceiling is as high as you want it to be offensively. I mean, this is the guy I think you want to build around moving forward. And, I'm just not sure why the Rockets have been hesitant. So Rockets fans, maybe I'm ignorant to this issue or whatever. Make sure you let me know down in the comment section, what is the deal with the, lack of deal for Alperen Sengun's future and his contract? Is this something you support or don't support by the front office? Are the reports even true, or am I missing something? That's very possible. I'm not a Rockets fan, so I'm going to miss some of this stuff. Make sure you guys let me know. I'm genuinely curious. But nonetheless, Sengun is going to have, a better year next season, no question, assuming his role is similar to last year. He just seems to get better every year, and I love his game. Another core piece of this team that has been, I guess, in a lot of NBA headlines that, people are saying, the Rockets might not extend as well, that is Jalen Green. And Jalen Green has had some up and downs throughout his early career with the Rockets. Everybody talks about the negative stuff about Jalen Green, and nobody really seems to, I guess, shine light on the fact that he is a gifted natural scorer. I mean, he's just got that ability, who just is an instinctual scorer. Maybe his shot selection isn't super conducive to winning basketball all the time. Those are things that can be fixed. Those are decisions that he's making. The talent is absolutely there. That's never been the issue with Jalen Green. And I think last year proved that he can have a significant role in a team that's, competitive. And, hopefully if everything goes well, that continues in the same direction. We'll just have to see, what this next season looks like for Jalen Green. In my opinion, it's kind of a make or break year. I mean, this is the year where you decide, is this a guy we want to build around for the future? To give him that much a rookie max scale extension, or do we want to, maybe move on and go in a different direction with all this depth we have at the guard position now? Those are things you're gonna have to decide at the end of the season. It's certainly going to be interesting. I mean, Jalen Green, again, the talent's not the issue. He is a natural scorer who can score in bunches. When he's on fire, man, he is, he has that ability to take over a game. He's that great scoring. The question is, like, what else is he going to be able to do for you if he's not the number one or number two option, right? Other than scoring, can he be a consistent secondary playmaker? Can he be a good defender? Will he commit to those kind of roles? That's something I think is a little bit untested in terms of a winning environment. So we saw a little bit of that last season, but at the end of the day, this is a make or break season for Jalen Green. And Rockets fans, again, let me know down in the comment section how are we feeling. And at any point during this video, if I mischaracterize someone on your team, please let me know. You guys have been so great with that with the last video. So I love you guys and your fan base. I'm not trying to mischaracterize. I just, I'm not a Rockets fan, so I'm just probably gonna miss stuff, So those are the two, pieces of the core that I think are definitely in for an impactful season one way or another, however it turns out. But, we do have a lot of players to get through, probably 10 or 12 more. So let's just run through it, man. So, first we're going to start with Reed Sheppard. And, we talked about him a lot in the intro and kind of the offseason period. But, this is a player that I'm interested to see what kind of role Coach Udoka wants to give him. You have a lot of depth at the guard positions. Okay. So is Reed Sheppard going to be a starter? I would probably say no right away. It could be throughout the season he works his way into that starting lineup if things don't go well with Jalen Green. But I think Reed Sheppard on this team in particular is going to be best suited as an off-ball two guard with secondary scoring and creating capabilities whenever he's in the game. Okay. It could be a 6 man of the year candidate next season if he gets those minutes that, I think he deserves, because if, again, I'm watching the summer league, he's clearly the best player on the floor in a lot of those games. He looks like he's been in the league for a long time. I watch him and I'm like, he could be doing this in a playoff series. Like, it's insane how good he already is. He's just miles above a ton of the other rookies, and his skill set in particular, I think, is going to be so important for the Rockets. Someone that can have that gravity and space the floor at that level, and particularly off the dribble, is just something the Rockets have missed a little bit for that shooting. Having him in certain lineups, be interesting to see what a pick and roll situation with him and Sengun, or him and Jabari Smith Jr, who we'll talk about. But those are things I'm excited to see. I'm excited to see how all that stuff works out. But it's gonna be tough to defend, no question about it. Reed Sheppard, I think, no matter what role he's in, 6 man off the bench, first guard off the bench, whatever it is clearly going to have an impactful role this season, and I would expect him to get at least over 20 minutes a game. And if he does come off the bench for the majority of the year, look for him in the 6 man of the year voting. So that's Reed Sheppard, man. I just can't say enough great things about him and his fit with the Rockets. Another young piece of this core who I think has, hopefully, if you're a Rockets fan, his best season yet to come, and I think showed a lot of growth as a role player last season. That is Jabari Smith Jr. And, again, another guy that's just so young and talented, 21 years old. Last year, I thought really took a step up in his consistency and, certain roles that Coach Udoka put him in. He is a guy that can defend multiple positions, and he is a freak defender. I mean, this is a, all NBA caliber potential defender. 6'11", 220. He's like a legit 7-footer with a smaller, build to him, right? He's a little bit thin, but he is long and he is mobile for that size. I mean, incredibly. Offensively, he's a good shooter. Last year stepped up his percentages and efficiency, being a volume 3-point shooter at a high level last year. League average efficiency, 36% on 5 attempts per game is huge. It's huge for him, right? As a catch and shoot guy, could space the floor from that power forward position. He's also, knock on wood, has no issues with his health so far in his career. His rookie year played 79 games. His second year played 76. That's a big positive. Consistency. 14 points a game last season. He took a step up in his rebounding. He is a good defensive rebounder. And I think just learned a lot under Coach Udoka. I think this is one of the guys Coach Udoka is going to employ very well. Ime Udoka does great with defenders and versatile defenders. And, a lot of the situations he was put in last year, he did exceptionally well with. He was asked to guard small forwards on the perimeter a lot of times. He was locking up some of the team's best players every given night. I saw him go toe-to-toe with guys like LeBron James and Anthony Davis. And, he is capable of taking those matchups. And when he locks in defensively one-on-one, he is a tough guard, man. He really is, with that length and mobility and a shot blocking ability. So this is probably the defender of your future. Your defensive number one of the future. Again, an all NBA caliber guy, I think, moving forward. And I'm telling you, man, not enough people are talking about his versatility defensively when he's taking, he's basically running out to the perimeter and guarding some of these guys one-on-one, pretty successfully from what I could see, during my Rockets game watching last year. So I have nothing but great things to say. I think he has another improved season and probably the best defender on your team, honestly. Fred VanVleet made his mark last season. A lot of people criticized that contract. It was a big contract. I believe it was like, 3 years, 150 million, something like that. Listen, man, this is an all-star caliber player, and he took over the leadership role of this team last season and became the absolute, traditional floor general that you could hope for. And Fred VanVleet is such a dog and a competitor, and I think just, under Coach Udoka, this is a great pairing, and he is going to have these guys in situations, these young guys. It's so big for young guys that play off the ball to have a, solid veteran point guard leading them. Not only that, Fred VanVleet's a scorer and a good defender on the ball. He's a pest on the ball as well as a game-changing shooter a lot of times. I know he has a lot of range to him. I know his playmaking is elite. I think, he averaged 8 assists last season on 1.7 turnovers per game, and with a team that needed a reliable playmaker last season, he probably earned, make a case that from, the improvement the year before to what you got from Fred after you signed him, you could say he probably earned more than $40 million. What he was able to do in that role and how great he stepped in and fit in right away with this team. 17 points per game, 8 assists, 4 rebounds, 1.4 steals, 39% from 3 on 8 attempts per game, a lot of them being deep off the dribble pull-ups. Come on, man. Those are elite shooting numbers. I don't care if his field goal is 42%. I just don't care. His value is immeasurable for this team moving forward, and I think he has similar production next season, no question about it. Another unsung hero of the Rockets, Dillon the Villain Brooks. Not so much a villain anymore. He revitalizes his career with Houston last season and shuts everybody up. Proves all the haters wrong. He proves that he is an efficient offensive player that is capable of being an off-ball option that, will not be a liability offensively with his shot selection. He actually ended up shooting really well last season, and his defensive competitiveness and just dog mentality and instigator, like he's going to be really important for this team moving forward. This is a starting caliber player that is an above average starting caliber player. Okay, in Memphis, I know things were a little bit different at times, but this is an all NBA caliber defender, and honestly, he proved, like I said last season, that he is a capable off-ball scorer and shooter. Last year, shooting league average 36% on 5 attempts per game from 3. And that is a big improvement. And not only that, other than his field goal percentage, which is I think always going to be a little bit low just because of his finishing ability and stuff like that. 43% is an improvement from years past, and 85%, about 84% from the line. This is a good role player, and a solid defender, probably your best perimeter defender on this team. And I just think he fits the new identity of this team super well. So Dillon Brooks adding a lot of grit, edge, and toughness and perimeter defense to this team. No question about it. Next season will be in the same form. Another guy you bring in as a veteran, this is Steven Adams, the center who was previously with the Memphis Grizzlies, longtime OKC Thunder. I'm sure Rockets fans know all about Steven Adams, him being in the Western Conference on such good teams for so long that competed against you guys. Look, Steven Adams was hurt last year, and you traded 4 second-round picks for him, I believe, and he's 31 years old and has some injury concerns. But when Steven Adams is healthy, he is tough to move in the paint. He is an excellent rebounder. He's an excellent offensive rebounder, and he is a tough guy on the block. Okay, he's a good, good hands, good finisher, good roller. The amazing, impeccable screen setter. This is something I think the Rockets really cash out on, is the screen setting ability. Imagine Reed Sheppard flying off the screens and shooting on the move. Imagine Fred VanVleet getting to the floater spot, around the free throw line off those, Steven Adams screens. Okay, for the smaller guards, this screen setting ability is going to be huge, and a tough post defender as well. He's a big body, tough guy to move down there in the post. He could be your backup 5 next season if health isn't an issue. I think he fits the identity of the team Coach Udoka is trying to build. I love this, addition, despite what you gave up for him for Steven Adams for the Rockets. I mean, how can you not like this? He's a top tier rebounder and toughness guy in the paint, and just a big body. He's a very different player than Sengun. I think the contrasts will work very well there to be able to put those guys in different situations throughout different matchups and games. So love him as your backup 5 if that is in fact his role, because Jock Landale is still on the team as well, and I know he was playing through injuries last year, had kind of a down year, and maybe not exactly what you're hoping to get out of him his first season with Houston. But again, another guy that's just a little bit different. They kind of have 3 different kinds of centers, and I like that. I like having different looks to be able to throw out different matchups. That's a lot of flexibility game to game. Center is, other than point guard, maybe the most impactful position, primarily defensively. And if you don't have a good one that you can switch with matchups, you're in trouble, man. I don't care how many scorers you have. But we'll just have to see what the division of minutes looks like with Jock Landale and Steven Adams. I think it'll be interesting to see. I think Steven Adams is the better player of the two, even with Jock Landale at his best, uninjured or healthy, I guess is the word for it. But I think if they're both healthy, I think Steven Adams gives you the best quality backup 5 minutes. Just have to see how it works out. Maybe I'm wrong about that. Again, Jae'Sean Tate, we've talked about him. I know Rockets fans are a little unhappy with him. How do you guys feel about him returning on that team option? You guys can let me down in the comments, but I don't think he's going to get as many minutes as he has been throughout his career. Last year took a dip in minutes as well, only 16 minutes per game throughout the regular season. He apparently, a lot of people are saying he's inefficient. He takes a lot of shots, plays hero ball late in games, and shoots people out of games. But I think, just having him as a longtime Rocket who can help the young guys maybe a little bit, even if you don't want to play him very often, I think just the depth and just a guy that fits the identity. The identity that Coach Udoka is building is super good. Okay, he's a tough player. He's a gritty player, and I think that goes along with the theme of this team. I know I keep saying that, but they've done an incredible job of bringing guys in that have that similar mindset and competitiveness to them. And I just think, regardless of Jae'Sean Tate's role next season, I think you got to like that for the young guys to be able to see that in practice and stuff like that. So now let's get into some of the young, intriguing prospects of the Houston Rockets. And man, there are so many of them. And there's a big tier of these guys that I think are all in similar positions in their careers. I think they're so high ceiling, a lot of these guys, and we're going to talk about all of them. So let's start with maybe my favorite of the bunch, and that is Cameron Whitmore. Cam Whitmore being last year's draft pick for you guys. He is a wing that is 20 years old, 6'7", 230 pounds, and oh my goodness, is he an absolute bucket, folks. Cam Whitmore is a really great shooter. I think that is probably his best quality. Last season as a rookie, shooting 5 attempts per game, 36%, and came on strong at the second part of the season last year. for a while in the beginning, it looked like maybe, I think he was dealing with some injuries and just wasn't getting a ton of time. Only ended up playing 47 games, but man, can he score in this league, folks. And again, he looks so great in the summer league. Averaged 12 points a game last season, 4 rebounds. This is just a guy that can fill it up from the wing. You can probably give him like higher volume from the 3 and still have him shoot. He's just a shooter. He's just a great shooter. I think his defense is good as well. He's a good athlete. I think he has super elite scoring potential, for a wing that, maybe not so much like shot creation. I think that is an aspect of his game already. I'm not sure you'll ever ask him to be like the second or third option on this team, even at his best, if his ceiling goes perfectly well. But I just think, having a guy that you could put in that could just fill it up quickly and, snipe from the outside, it just adds so much for, some of these players. We talk about having shooting around playmaking and interior scoring like Sengun, right? And so when you put guys like Reed Sheppard and Cam Whitmore around a guy like that, it just opens up Sengun to where you can't really throw a lot of double teams at him, because one, he's a great playmaker and has a high basketball IQ, he's going to find the open guy, but two, there's just going to be open threes, and that's just not something you really give up in today's game comfortably. So especially with shooters like Cam Whitmore, Fred VanVleet, and Reed Sheppard on the floor, these are elite guys. So love Cam Whitmore's offensive scoring ceiling, and I just think he's going to be a impactful shooter for this team. Again, only 20 years old. I don't like, this is just such a young and talented roster on all fronts. Okay, Amen Thompson, maybe again another guy with like star caliber ceiling. We'll just have to see like what his, I guess, strongest suits will be. We know he's a defender and a special one. We know he has on-ball playmaking capabilities. The question for me is like, is his ideal role on, in a vacuum, not, I guess, not accounting for fit, right? Is his role going to be like a point guard, or is it going to be like a power forward? I think he could honestly play both next season. That's the type of player he is. He's so versatile on both ends and has really good playmaking ability. I mean, he's a great athlete as well. I just think, if he's able, we talk about this with his brother as well, but if he's able to get that 3-point shooting anywhere to respectable numbers, he is a star caliber two-way player. No question about it. But the playmaking and rebounding is just off the charts. You could say maybe it's like a positionless thing. I think that's what a lot of people say about, young prospects coming out, but at the end of the day, you got to fill a role. And I'm not really talking about like power forward, or point guard. I'm more talking about the skill set, right? So like, is he going to be able to be on the floor with a guy like Fred VanVleet, or like, is his best role as an on-ball playmaker? Because, if he can't really shoot and his best attribute offensively is his playmaking, I know he has other good ones, but I'm just, just hypothesizing here. If that is the case, like, what is his off-ball ceiling going to be? You already have a lot of great on-ball players in this team, so that is interesting. He is one of the more, I guess, high upside, high ceiling guys on the team, but, I just don't know how polished he's going to be next season. Well, maybe Rockets fans, maybe I'm wrong about all this. You guys can let me know. I watched a decent amount of Rockets games, not all of them, but, like most teams in the league, but, I like his ceiling. I'm so curious how his role is going to be next season. He could guard a lot of these positions, but, offensively off the ball, where do you want to put him? I think his scoring is better than I'm making it out to be honest, but I think the lack of shooting is going to be something to note. But, there's always roles for off-ball players, I don't want to say non-shooters, but, I guess, consistent 3-point shooters. Dunker spot is a big one. I think he could really excel there, especially with his playmaking ability. That's an underrated thing about the dunker spot. People think dunker spot is just for like lobs and, offensive rebounds, which he will be good at both of those. Well, a lot of it is like, you get the dunker spot involved in an offense. It's usually towards the end of the shot clock. And a lot of times, they're going to be crashing the interior, the defense, and collapsing towards it already. Dunker spot a lot of times is like a safety valve or last resort. But I think like his playmaking ability of basketball IQ is going to help him a lot in that role. Fire off quick passes out to an open 3 shooter. Like stuff like that is just so, when you have enough smart players that are super athletic and versatile on both ends, eventually they just kind of figure things out, and it's almost like it just flows naturally. I don't even know how to describe it. Like, think about the Celtics, who just have positionless basketball, and they just have a bunch of versatile players that can do a lot of things, and it just ends up looking like, perfection. I'm really struggling just to describe this, but I think it just flows naturally when you have a bunch of guys on the floor that are long, that can shoot, dribble, and pass. So that's basically what I'm trying to say. Someone I think has, really underrated potential and has had a good start to his career that I don't think enough people talk about is Tari Eason. Tari Eason being a first-round pick of 2022 draft, 23-year-old out of LSU. He's a forward, kind of probably a power forward, maybe more of a 3 or 4, but I think he could play either one, but I think you'd maybe like him more at the power forward. I'm not totally sure, but he's a great rebounder. This is one of your better offensive rebounders on the team. I love his ability. I think him and Reed Sheppard on the floor together is going to be big. Whenever you have good offensive rebounders or great great ones in Tari Eason's case that are good hustle guys that can also shoot. Like, I think surrounding them with like elite catch and shoot guys, like I think everybody knows, the best time to get an open three is after an offensive rebound. And, if you put like Steven Adams, and I just thought of that, wow, Steven Adams and Tari Eason on the floor and just surround them with three elite catch and shoot guys, your best three, that is a death lineup right there. You're just good luck getting them out of the paint. Good luck defensive rebounding. I don't care who's on your team. That's going to be a death lineup. Oh my goodness. Wow. Imagine a lineup. It's like Fred VanVleet, Reed Sheppard, Cam Whitmore, and then Tari Eason and Steven Adams. That is insane. I hope they run that lineup throughout the season. Great offensive rebounder, great rebounder in general, good defender, good two-way player. I love Tari Eason's game. Unfortunately dealt with injuries last year, but he is a guy to watch for a solid role player, elite role player next season, no question. That is just a ton of guys we've already talked about right there. And then you have guys that could find their way into the rotation. We talked a little bit about Jock Landale. Jeff Green is still around. He is 37, and they did guarantee his contract for next season, but like still capable of spot minutes at the forward position, maybe even backup five. I know they played him a little bit there last season, but you already have three good centers. AJ Griffin, we'll have to see what his role looks like. Aaron Holiday, again, there are literally about 12 players on this team that I can count that you could make a case are playoff rotation players. They're that good already. And I think the top 12 players on the depth chart are all good enough to earn big roles. The question is, how will Coach Udoka do this? This is going to be a situation where I think it's just a committee team. I don't think they're going to run through a lot of star players. You're not going to see something like the Dallas Mavericks. I think this is going to be a group committee effort on both ends of the floor, and I think that's probably the way Coach Udoka is going to do it. When you have 12 versatile players that are all quality players, I think you just play a lot of players. You have a deep rotation, and nobody really gets like 40 minutes per game or 38 minutes per game. It's going to be a lot of like 32 minutes per game, even for your best players, 34 maybe. But you have fresh legs to come in and relieve those guys a lot of times. So like Sengun, keeping him fresh is going to be big. If he doesn't have to play 38 minutes a game because you have quality backups like Steven Adams, Jock Landale, the fresher the better, right? So Jalen Green, same thing. Keep him fresh, keep his legs fresh. You got Reed Sheppard coming in, you got Cam Whitmore coming in. So like it's just that kind of thing for me. This is a young team as well, for the most part. So I don't think injuries are something that are going to be too prevalent. A lot of older teams that are super top heavy, like my Sixers next season, are probably going to deal with a lot of injury issues because they're putting a lot on their star players and they're older. So just the way it is. But this team, to me, is a play-in caliber team next season. I do have them in the play-in tournament. I think that's pretty fair to say. Whether or not they can sneak into a 6 seed, I think is yet to be seen. There's a lot of question marks with this team. There's a ton of good teams in the West. Some of them have a little bit less question marks, and I think that's why I'd be a little bit hesitant to put them at a 6 seed or something like that. They certainly could. I wouldn't be shocked at all. Rockets fans, let me know down in the comment section how excited you are to see every player on this team compete next season for Houston. I'm excited, man. I'm going to watch a ton of Rockets games next season, so stay tuned on the channel, man. We're going to do Rockets content. I love, shout out to Houston. Your fan base has been so incredible, on that Rockets video. You guys really showed out, and that's, again, one of the more popular videos on the channel. I had to do this deep dive, even though we did something similar, but, we're doing this is the official series, okay? The official deep dive series. We're going to try to cover every team by the end of the offseason, and Rockets, just because I did something similar before, they got to be in the official rotation of the deep dives, folks. You got to cover all 30. Hopefully you guys enjoyed the video, man. Rockets fans, let me know. I give this example at the end of every deep dive, but hopefully I did your team some justice. Hopefully I characterized them well, and hopefully, my takes are okay, because I really am trying to learn about every team. This is a good way for me to do that, is these deep dives. So there's going to be things I probably messed up on, or, didn't mention, or should have mentioned. There's microscopic things that, only a fan base of a certain team can notice. I'm not a Rockets fan, so I'm going to miss them, right? And I'm not perfect. I make mistakes. This is a 46-minute recording. I'm going to make some mistakes, right? I challenge myself a lot in these recordings to know a lot of things. Sometimes I fall short, right? So that's just the way it is. I try my best, but maybe guys, if you do have some of those little tidbits or whatever, you guys can let me know down in the comments. I would really appreciate it. I'm rooting for you guys next season. You're an exciting young team. And again, I just think having the make or break aspect to Jalen Green and Alperen Sengun, you're going to learn a lot of things about this team next season, and probably a lot of them good. I would hope. And I really have a lot of faith in the front office, the way they've been doing things, as well as Coach Ime Udoka. I think he's doing a great job so far. He's a great coach. So Rockets, you got maybe one of the brightest futures of anyone in the West. You definitely do. Not maybe. You have one of the brightest futures of anyone in the West, and I'm rooting for you next season, folks. Hopefully, guys, if you did enjoy it, make sure you guys subscribe to the channel. Thank you guys for watching all the way to the end. I know it's a long video. I apologize, but we're going to be doing deep dives like this every day on the channel until until we're done with every team. Okay, we've already done 12 or 13 or whatever it is, so we're running through all the teams, folks. There's a good chance we either already did your team or we're going to be doing them in the next couple of days. Okay, so if you don't want to miss a deep dive on your team, I have a playlist on the channel with all the deep dives. Make sure you guys check that out. And again, deep dives every day. We upload content on this channel every single day, so I don't want you guys to miss it. I love basketball and I love sharing it with you guys, and you guys like the deep dives, so I'm going to keep doing them, and I enjoy doing them. These are my favorite videos to make, so hopefully you guys enjoy it. Make sure you guys subscribe. We're on the road to 13K. You guys have been amazing with the support. Ton of support, new subs on the channel. If you're a new sub, I love you. If you're an old sub, I love you. Any sub, I love you. If you're not a sub, what are you guys doing? Okay, I love everybody, but you guys got a sub, man. We're trying to build something special in this community, and I'm not trying to guilt you into it, but I just want everyone sub to this channel because I think it's a great place every day to come and maybe either learn something about basketball. Sometimes we do some funny videos and stuff like that, or maybe you just, I don't know, think I'm annoying or whatever and you want to make fun of me. That's a good reason to watch as well. So hopefully guys find some way to some reason to watch. That's the end of my shameless plugs. Drop a like. It's not at the end, actually, I lied. Drop a like on the video if you guys did enjoy it. It really helps out new people find the video. If you guys want to support the channel, the biggest thing you guys can do is either drop a like, leave a like on the video, leave a comment of what you thought of the video or whatever you want to put in the comments, or subscribe. Those are the three biggest things. Even one person doing one of those things, it makes a big difference on the channel. It helps me a lot. So if you guys do want to support and you enjoyed the content, make sure you guys do that if you could. Again, it really means a lot to me and it helps out the channel big time, and it's a dream of mine to grow this into something special, and I love you guys for supporting me. Again, Rockets fans, let me know down in the comments what you think, and follow my Twitter as well. I want to engage with you guys. I want to find new ways to engage with you guys other than just the comments, so maybe we'll start streaming or something soon. Let me know if you guys want to see that. I used to stream over on Twitch, so maybe we'll get that up and running again. We'll do some 2K or something, Q&A, whatever it is. I want to engage with you guys more in different ways. Twitter could be one of them. I'm pretty active over there, so if you guys want to follow my Twitter, links down in the description. X.com or whatever it is, Twitter, where x.com/dhave1 is my Twitter account. And other than that, I'll catch you guys in the next one. Rockets, good luck next season. You got a deep, young, exciting team, and I'm rooting for you, and I think they're a play-in tournament team, no question. I'll catch you guys tomorrow in a different deep dive, and maybe, hopefully it's your favorite team. Hopefully your favorite team is as bright a future as the Rockets is, and I'll see you guys tomorrow. This is your boy D Haven, as always. Peace.